gave shelter to a desperate foxwoman, didn't realize she was in full heat and craving me. The storm's arrival. The wind howled through the whispering pine mountains like a wounded beast, rattling the shutters of Cale Thornwood's modest cabin. He stirred the pot of herbal stew over his hearth, content in his solitude, a choice he'd made 5 years ago after losing his family to plague. The mountain suited him, quiet, predictable, safe. Then came the pounding on his door. Cale grabbed his lantern and pulled open the heavy wooden door. Rain lashed his face, and there, collapsed on his threshold, was a woman unlike any he'd seen. Russet-red hair clung to her pale face, and behind her, 8 soaked foxtails lay splayed across the muddy ground. Her ears, delicate, furred, unmistakably vulpine, twitched weakly. "Please," she whispered, her amber eyes rolling back. "Help me." Without hesitation, Cale scooped her into his arms. She was lighter than expected, burning with fever despite the cold rain. He kicked the door shut and carried her to the fur rug before his fire, quickly wrapping her in wool blankets. "Stay with me," he murmured, checking her pulse. It raced erratically beneath his fingers. As he prepared a cooling compress, he noticed strange patterns glowing faintly beneath her skin, markings that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Fox spirit, he realized. He'd heard tales from traveling merchants, but never believed them. The woman's eyes fluttered open, focusing on him with desperate intensity. "I shouldn't have come. It's dangerous. I'm dangerous right now." "You're safe here," Cale assured her, pressing the compress to her forehead. "Rest. We'll talk when the fever breaks." But even as he spoke, an unusual warmth filled the cabin, something that had nothing to do with the fire.
The burning truth. By morning, the storm had lessened to steady rain, but the woman's condition had barely improved. Cale had stayed awake all night, changing compresses and monitoring her temperature. Now, in the gray dawn light, she sat up slowly, pulling the blanket around her shoulders. "Thank you," she said softly. "I'm Una Silverfox. I owe you my life." "Cale Thornwood, and you owe me nothing." He handed her a cup of chamomile tea. "What happened to you?" Una's ears drooped, and her tails curled protectively around her body. "My clan exiled me 3 days ago. I'm experiencing what we call the lunar fever, a spiritual heat cycle that happens once every decade. It makes everything intense. Emotions, sensations, the need for connection." She looked away, shame coloring her cheeks. "My people fear it. They say it makes us lose control, become wild. So they cast out anyone who experiences it." Cale frowned. "That's cruel. It's not something you chose." "No," Una agreed, her voice breaking slightly. "But I understand their fear. Right now, every instinct in me is screaming to bond, to touch, to—" She trailed off, gripping the cup tighter. "I can barely think straight. Your kindness, your scent, even the sound of your voice, it's all overwhelming. That's why I said I'm dangerous. Not because I'd hurt you, but because I might ask for things I shouldn't." Cale studied her carefully. Despite her confession, he saw only a frightened woman seeking refuge, not a threat. "How long does it last?" 2, maybe 3 days if I can weather it alone." Una met his eyes. "I'll leave as soon as the rain stops. I won't burden you with this." "You're not a burden," Cale said firmly, "and I won't send you back into that storm."
Growing connection. As the day wore on, Una's fever fluctuated wildly. Cale prepared cooling baths with mountain herbs, keeping his touch professional despite her occasional gasps and shivers. They talked to distract her from the discomfort. "Why do you live alone?" Una asked as Cale prepared lunch, simple bread and cheese. "Lost my family 5 years ago," he admitted, surprising himself with the honesty. "My wife and daughter. Plague took them in 3 days. Afterward, I couldn't bear staying in town where everything reminded me of them. The mountain offered peace." Una's expression softened. I'm sorry. That kind of loneliness, I understand it differently, but I understand. She wrapped her tails around herself. My clan was my family, but they always treated me as other, too emotional, too intense, too much. When the fever came, it gave them the excuse they'd been waiting for. That's their failure, not yours, Kael said gently. Their eyes met, and something shifted in the air between them. Yuna's breath hitched, and she looked away quickly. You're making this harder, she whispered. Making what harder? Resisting, she laughed shakily. You're kind, gentle, and you see me as a person, not a problem. Do you know how rare that is? Right now, my spirit is trying to bond with yours. It recognizes something compatible. Kael sat beside her, careful not to touch. I lost the ability to connect with people after my family died, but talking with you feels different, natural. Yuna turned to him, her amber eyes bright. Kael, I need you to understand. If we get closer, if we cross certain lines, my spirit will try to bond with you permanently. That's not fair to either of us. What if it's what we both need? The words escaped before he could stop them.
The breaking point. Night fell again, and Yuna's condition intensified. She paced the cabin restlessly, her tails lashing behind her, spiritual energy crackling visibly along her skin. Kael watched helplessly as she struggled. "Talk to me," he urged. "Tell me what you need." "I need," Yuna turned to him, eyes wild. "I need to not feel so alone anymore. I need someone to choose me, to want me, not despite the fever, but including all of it. I need," her voice broke, "I need you, Kael. And I hate that I'm saying this, hate that I can't control it." Kael stood and crossed to her. "What if you're not the only one who needs this?" Her breath caught as he cupped her face gently. "Kael, once we start—" "I know," you explained it. He stroked her cheek with his thumb. "I've been half alive for 5 years, Yuna. Maybe fate brought you to my door for a reason." "You don't know what you're saying." He kissed her softly, tentatively. Yuna froze for a heartbeat, then melted against him with a desperate sound. Her tails wrapped around them both as the kiss deepened, years of loneliness pouring out from both sides. They moved to his bed, hands exploring with reverent wonder. Yuna trembled as Kael traced the patterns on her skin, her spiritual markings growing brighter with each tender touch. Their connection was intense but gentle, two wounded souls finding healing in each other's arms. Intimate moments fade to the sound of rain and whispered promises. Afterward they lay entwined, Yuna's breathing finally steady, her fever broken. "It worked," she whispered. "The bond, it stabilized everything. How did you know?" "I didn't," admitted Kael. "I just knew you needed someone to choose you freely, and I needed to feel alive again." Dawn of a new beginning. Dawn brought clear skies and birdsong. Yuna woke wrapped in Kael's arms, her 8 tails spread contentedly across the bed. For the first time in days, her mind was quiet, her spirit calm and balanced. "How do you feel?" Kael asked, stroking her hair. "Whole," she said simply. "The fever has passed, but something else remains. The bond." Kael smiled. "I can feel it too, like a thread connecting us." Yuna propped herself up on her elbow, studying his face. "My clan was wrong about the lunar fever. It's not about losing control. It's about finding the right connection. Someone who accepts all of you." She touched his chest. "You gave me that. You gave me yourself, freely and completely." "You did the same for me," Kael replied. "I thought I was content in my loneliness, but I was just hiding. You reminded me that love, real connection, is worth the risk of pain." They spent the morning planning. Yuna would stay, helping Kael with his herb work. He would teach her about mountain plants. She would share fox spirit wisdom about natural magic. Together, they would build something neither had thought possible, a home not based on obligation or fear, but on choice and understanding. As they stood on the porch watching the sun sparkle on wet pine needles, Yuna leaned into Kael's embrace. Thank you for opening your door that night." "Thank you for knocking," he whispered back. Their love story had begun with a desperate storm, but it would continue in the gentle sunshine of acceptance and genuine devotion. Lessons. 1. True love accepts all parts of a person, including the aspects they struggle with themselves. 2. Sometimes the connections we resist most fiercely are the ones we need most desperately. 3. Healing from loneliness requires a willingness to connect to others.